Hello, I am Channavan Kapoor. I'm a trainer at Go Master Technologies, and this video is being recorded for the YouTube channel of Go Master Technologies. Please do subscribe to it. I'm going to discuss my solution to today's problem in October Lead Coding Challenge, and today's problem is combination sum. So the problem definition goes this way. So we have a set of distinct candidates and a target integer. So we need to find the list of all unique combinations of these candidates, where a candidate is basically the candidate should add up to target, right? And the same number from the set of candidates can be used multiple times in the combination, right? So I think the example here is already illustrating that. So the candidates are these four candidates: 2, 3, 6, and 7, and the target is 7. So in the first combination, 2 and 3, 2 is being used multiple times, so that is allowed. The sum is equal to 7 anyway. So there is another combination in which there is only one element that also adds up to 7. All right. So this is what we need to figure out. So yeah, for this sample example, so we have the answer has two combinations that add up to the target. And there is another example here with 2, 3, 5 as the candidates, and then the target is 8. So we have three combinations here. 2 is included 4 times. That is one combination, or 2, 3, 3, or 3 and 5. Right. So this is the problem definition. So how do we solve this one? Um, so in this case, I'm going to use a robust method which uses a kind of state space tree used for backtracking methods. You to solve this one. Looks like backtracking method is gonna be an ideal way of solving this problem. So here is my approach. So when I'm trying with the backtracking method, I'm going to use a kind of a recursion tree kind of thing, which resembles the state space tree, right? So what we want to solve here is we have a set of candidates here and a target, and we need to build the combinations that add up to the target, right? So the way I'm going to work out this one is I have started here, and I'm starting with a null set here, which is basically a building a combination. So at the moment it's a null set. So I'm going to keep building that combination. So maybe combination is not exactly a set because there are duplicates in that, but yeah, you can, that's just an array in a way. So the way I'm going to work with this is for backtracking method, I'm going to keep considering every element whether to be included or not. And an element can be included multiple times. So that is one scenario we need to worry about. So there are two possibilities at least, whether this candidate is included in my combination or not. If it is not included, this is the part I'm going to go with, where I didn't include it. So the remaining problem I need to solve is not going to have this element, say the element 2, but the target is not going to change, and obviously we didn't add that element. So the partial combination we are building is still null set. And on the other hand, if you go to the right side, the candidate is included here, so that's why the partial combination is going to have it. Once we have it, the target is reduced by that value, so that we need to add up to that target, right? So we are going to reduce that value by that value. And here, notice this one. So I'm still having this 2 here. The reason I'm still having 2 here is because this element can be included multiple times. That is allowed here, right? If that were not allowed, I would have just removed that also. So that's the main logic. So otherwise, if you go further, just for this example, maybe writing the whole example is not going to be easy in the screen. So I'll just show the key parts of this one. If you go on the left extreme path here, every time we're skipping an element, and obviously even at the end, I'm not going to add any element, and capacity is totally unused, and the remaining set of candidates becomes empty. So this solution generally is useless, right? um, Unless the target itself is like 0. On the other hand, look at this path. This path is useful. So where we didn't choose the last element, we didn't choose the last but one also. The 6 is also kind of ignored. But look at this, when we choose this element 7, I can come this way. So as usual, I'm going to still have the same list of candidates 3, 7. but now target is reduced by 7 so that the element is added to the combination we are building. So when the target reduces to 0, what does it mean? So we have added elements which add up to exactly the target, because we started with the target value and that reduced to 0, and we started with the null set here and we have a set having exactly that sum. So this is an acceptable answer. This is a combination. So when you reach such a leaf, we can say this is something I'm going to add. So this is a leaf in the tree I'm kind of coming up with, right? A kind of state space tree. Otherwise, these kind of things are useless, because the left extreme thing, because at some point I basically reduced it to 0 as the candidates. There is nothing to add, but the target itself is not at used up. So this obviously is a leaf which is not useful. But we need to anyway backtrack and then figure out, right? And some paths, like in this way, when I go this way here, we chose this element 6, and look at this, the target is reduced to 1, and the element is chosen is 6. Okay, this is good so far, but look at the target one. Yeah, at the moment we cannot say algorithmically, but yeah, if you observe here, whatever way you go, this one cannot be consumed exactly so that this sum becomes 0 or the target value becomes 0, right? So this path is not going to lead to any solutions. At least I can see that now. But yeah, algorithmically, you got to go down to the leaves and then figure out whether that leaf is a kind of this one which where target reduced to 0, or it cannot, right? So one of those things has to happen. And if you come on the right side, let me explore that. What could happen? So I considered again without this last element, so that last element is not chosen, and with the last element is going to be like 2 is there are 2 instances of 2. Still I have the whole candidate set, because I don't know how many 2s are needed for this, but target is reducing, right, at every step. So if you go further down here, but yeah, if you try to choose one more 2, what's going to happen is, in this path, I did a mistake here. There is one more 2 here. So the partial sum is going to have 3 2s, but the target is reduced to 1. And yeah, if you go further, you are not going to get any solution. But if you skip that now, after adding 2 2s here, I have this one. Now I'm excluding 2. I have 3 7 6 and then 2 2 here. And again, maybe if I try to go on the right side where to include 6, it is not possible, because the capacity or the target is only 3, right? So which is more than what this element can have. So that's why this is infeasible. So this is also kind of a leaf which is going to lead to infeasible solutions. So I'm going to exclude them, right? So in backtracking, such a thing is called branch pruning, right? Now, if you go on the left side here, we skipped that. We excluded that element 6, and then we went to only 3 comma 7. Target is still 3, and then we have 2 instances of 2. Now again, if you go further down here in this path, what happens in this case is there is another infeasible path here, because you cannot include 7, because the target is only 3. But if you go further down here, there is only one element, target 3. Now look at this one, what happens, this right path where I can include this one and target reduces to 0. And we now have a combination which is 2, 2 and 3. So because it reduced to 0, that's a valid combination we want to consider. So whatever the result is going to have this one and this one. And if you go in any other path, you can algorithmically we can realize that none of them are going to be added up to the target we are looking for, right? So this is an example, but how do we generalize this? How do we get a recurrence out of this one? Is by something like this. We want to solve for, say, n elements, which are n candidates and given target. So I'm going to generalize that function f to f of k comma c. So there are k candidates, the first k candidates in my an array of candidates, and this is the capacity or the target, the remaining capacity in a way. So to start with, that is equal to target. So there are two paths here, without and with. Without is going to basically ignore that last kth element and then only consider the first k minus 1 elements. And with path is going to union add this element to the whatever the set we are building, but this k is not reducing because the same element can be added multiple times and the capacity is reduced by that element itself, right? So this leads to a and whatever whatever this branch gives the set of combinations, and the set of combinations here I'm going to union all of them, and that is going to be my answer, right? So this is how I'm looking at recurrence, right? I wrote the recurrence in a similar fashion here, right? So each of them are going to give me some set of combinations, and this is going to be, this element is added to every combination I'm going to get out of this one, right? So that's the idea of this recurrence. Now, what are the base cases here? There are three possibilities in this case. If n reduces to zero, that means there are no candidates to add, but there is some capacity. So that's an infeasible thing. So it's gonna be a dead end because we cannot add any more elements, and target is still left out. Capacity is left out, so it is infeasible. And the other possibility is there are few elements left out, but the target has gone to negative. That means we could not add this element, right? So that whatever the infeasible I showed in the earlier slide is essentially that. So that's also not possible. But if the target reduces to zero, it doesn't matter how many elements are still available. It could be zero also. Then also this is acceptable answer, right? So this is the only acceptable base case. So the base case in terms of the state space tree are essentially leaves, and these kind of leaves are what's called feasible solutions, and these are infeasible solutions. And that's how this method is exhaustive in the sense of eliminating the infeasible solutions and only considering the feasible solutions, right? So yeah, maybe everything is put together are kind of candidates we are exhaustively covering. All right. So this is the idea I'm using. So let me try to code this idea because it's a method where we need to generate everything. There could be overlapping subproblems and all, but we cannot really make good use of that, right? So instead of actually coding from scratch, I'm going to already use this the code written so that I can quickly explain what happens here. So we have this vector of candidates and target. So this is the result I need to build, which is vector of vectors. And this is the partial combination I'm going to have, which is just a vector. So whenever I reach that feasible solution, I'm going to add this partial combination to the result, right? Otherwise, to start with, result also does not have anything, and partial combination is also empty. So I'm calling this function f, whatever I just explained in the state space tree. So I'm passing this candidates vector, and this is the k value there, right? To start with, this is n, but it keeps reducing it internally there. And partial combination is going to keep updating, right? And result is like more like a global variable which keeps updating. And target is the capacity which also keeps reducing at some point here. So I look at these two base cases which are leading to infeasible solutions, where if the number of candidates we left with are zero, or if the target is negative, so clearly we don't have a solution to work on. So I'm going to just return without adding any result, right? So that's a leaf which is not leading, which is basically an infeasible solution. And this is the feasible solution leaf, where if the target is zero, then I'm going to, that whatever the partial combination I have is an acceptable result. So I'm going to add it to the result, right? Otherwise, now here is the recursive part which happens. So the first one is recursion where I'm going to exclude the current element or the last element. So this one obviously can always go because the target or the capacity is not going to change, and nothing is changing except this one, because we are only excluding that last element, right? That's why it is k minus 1. But yeah, for the other path where width, there has to be a condition. The condition is if yeah, that basically leads to if we can add that candidate, then only we are going to consider it. So this is a condition where if the target has at least as much as the candidates capacity, candidates value, so then only I'm going to call this one. Otherwise, there is no point in going to negative values. So that's why so when I come inside this one, I'm going to consider this I add this current element to my partial combination and recursively solve this. See, in recursively while solving it, k is still there intact. Partial combination has one more element, and target is reduced by the candidate's value, right? So candidate's vector is zero based, so that's why I'm using k minus 1 there, right? Otherwise, that is the last element in the candidates, right? So when I solve that, it's going to go down, and then whatever the valid results, it's going to add here, and invalid, it's going to reject here. So this will do that recursively, these two things. But yeah, look at this. When you go down here, you added a candidate and then you backtrack there. So this backtracking has to basically, when you want to explore other possibilities, you want to get rid of that combination or that element you added. So that's why I'm going to I'm going to remove that element from the partial combination, so that I can explore other branches where this adding this element is not expected, right? So that is the idea of backtracking here, right? So this should work. I have seen this already. So yeah, for the sample test case, it worked. And if I submit, it should work for, yeah, all of them. And this is, yeah, decently fast. Yeah, it's like 88%. So this is the best we can do. Even though, see, this is a problem where we are generating all possible candidates. So we cannot really, identify, we can actually think of some kind of overlapping subproblem, but it's not worth it, because you still have to, make multiple copies of that overlapping subproblems and then distribute, right? Which is a hard way to solve. But if the problem was something else, so what we did in this one is we had these possibilities, and if you observed, some of them are infeasible, right? We saw those in two cases where we are going to result, right? These cases. So these leaves are basically infeasible, and these are the feasible ones, right? So we returned all possible candidates in this, area of all possible, all the possibilities. So that's basically what we did here, right? But yeah, what if this were more like, a counting problem? We just had to count how many such combinations exist. Then if you just implement this way, it may not be, as in it'll still take the same time, but we may not be expecting such a time. If you see the constraints here, the constraints of the problem, which I think I should go back and then see. Okay, it's not going back. Maybe I'll go back to this problem. Yeah, so if you see the constraints here, look at this. We have the number of candidates is 30 and the target is 500. So that's why this should be okay. In this case, the number of candidates, even if it is exponential, that's okay. 2 power 30 is actually expensive, but because many of them are infeasible, it's going to cut it and then it's working within the time limit, right? But yeah, if it is a counting problem, and what if this candidates is more than this one, something like 100, then it might be impossible to compute using, this method, whatever we have come up with here. So there will be overlapping subproblems which are just going to get the count, and probably there we need to use memoization. So and in problems where, suppose if you have an optimization version of this problem, you need to find a combination which optimizes on something, some objective function. Then also there will be overlapping subproblems. We need to use dynamic programming. So the method I right now used is not really a dynamic programming, because I'm not even using memoization here. This is the naive implementation of that. But yeah, for generating all possible feasible solutions, this is the best we can do. All right. So that's why I would consider this technique as useful for solving dynamic programming problems also. All right. Okay, try on your own. If you try, if you get any different way of solving this one, please let me know. And any questions or suggestions are always most welcome. Yep. So keep coding. Code at least one problem a day. All right. Thank you for watching.